what does Brian bring to the band? You think that's different than that's different from Bon Scott?
Well, Bon Scott is a pirate, and Bon Scott's he's such a great actor with his singing. Like everything that Bon sings, I believe. Little Lover, that wet patch on your seat, is it Coca-Cola?
Right.
Like I really buy into that. Chicks were just wetting themselves at the sight of this guy. Brian was much more of an everyman. Bon was not that. Bon was a character. Bon was a pirate. Bon was somebody that if you saw him in a bar, you might choose to stay away from him because he looks dangerous. Brian is the type of guy that you'd want to have a drink with. And we know that to this day, what kind of a guy he is. So I think that what Brian brings is a little bit more of a everyman appeal to their image, and I think that opened a lot of doors up for him, not just from his image, but also his voice. Like I said, I can sing like Brian Johnson. Everybody can, not everybody, but if you have a voice, singing like Bon Scott is very, very difficult. And I think had Bon still stayed in the band, yes, we love Bon Scott. He's such a huge part of AC/DC. He's one of my favorite frontmen of all time. But I don't know if that appeal would have been able to jump from, crowded halls of 3,000 to 5,000 people to stadiums of 50, 60, 70,000 people.
Yeah, Brian
that translates.
Yeah, Brian kind of had, I don't want to say his voice. It's more commercial than Bon's, I should say. It's a little bit more, especially in the United States. It's a little more Robert Plant-ish. It's got the kind of eye where that kind of came before. Where Bon sounded like Bon. There's not a lot of
That's my point. You can't imitate Bon. And like I said, you mentioned Brian's much more closer to Robert Plant. You can see the influence of Axl Rose from both Brian and Bon. But Axl sings much more like Bon. Axl sings much more like Brian than he does like Bon. Brian has that classic rock and roll voice with the scream and the balls. And when you listen to Back in Black, good Lord, those melody lines are so high. And I think that's another thing. Brian is very underrated as a rock singer because he's surrounded by Angus Young, who is the frontman of that band. But I ask anybody, and Axl even said this when he sang with DC for a short period of time. Try any singer, try and do Hell's Bells and try and do Thunderstruck. Those two songs, as a singer myself, they are fucking hard. Right. Hell's Bells it starts high, then it goes higher, then it goes even higher. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That's one of the cool things when Axl joined is that he had that power to be able to do that. But it's not easy to sing those songs. I think that's another thing Brian Johnson deserves more credit as an actual vocalist.